must have watched the video of the crowd outside the Mamelodi Magistrate's court, angry faces, placards held high, and the sound of chants echoing through the air. This isn't just another crime story. This is Mamelodi, a township that's been crying out for justice, where tragedy has become far too familiar. And today, the community stands united once again, demanding answers after the brutal execution-style killings of two young women, cousins Tshiamo and Baleseng Moramaga. It was the early hours of Sunday, October 26, 2025, when residents of Mamelodi East Extension 17 woke up to gunshots that shattered the morning silence. When police arrived, they found two lifeless bodies, young, bright women who had their entire futures ahead of them. Their lives were cut short in a manner so cold and deliberate that even hardened officers described the scene as deeply disturbing. A third person, who survived the attack, was rushed to hospital with serious injuries. The suspect, a 38-year-old man, was arrested shortly after and made his first appearance before the Mamelodi Magistrate's court this week. Outside the court, the atmosphere was tense but determined. Dozens of residents, friends, family, and activists gathered to show their support for the Moramaga family and to demand that justice be served without delay. Many carried handwritten signs that read, "Enough is enough" and "Stop killing our women." The chants weren't just about one incident, they were a reflection of a national crisis, South Africa's long and painful battle with gender-based violence. Let's be honest, stories like this one have become heartbreakingly common. Every few weeks, we hear about another young woman who has fallen victim to a senseless act of violence. Politicians make statements, government departments condemn the acts, and yet the statistics keep growing. The anger in Mamelodi is not just about Tshiamo and Baleseng. It's about all the women whose names never make the news. It's about communities that feel unprotected, where danger lurks even in familiar places. What makes this story even more tragic is that both women were reportedly inseparable, close cousins, raised like sisters. Tshiamo, 22, was described by friends as ambitious and full of life. She had recently completed her studies and was looking for work. Baleseng, 21, was a talented young woman with dreams of starting her own small business. Their lives were intertwined by love, family, and shared dreams, and both were ended by bullets. Community leaders say the killings have shaken Mamelodi to its core. Ward councillors and local activists have called for better police visibility, more effective crime prevention, and harsher punishment for perpetrators of gender-based violence. Some residents even suggested that this case should be treated as a national example, where justice is not only served but seen to be served. Others are more skeptical, pointing to how many similar cases have faded from public memory once the cameras left. Police Minister Sensom Chunu has yet to comment directly on the Mamelodi killings, but his department released a statement condemning the crime and promising that no stone will be left unturned. Yet, many South Africans are growing weary of that phrase. Because truthfully, it's been repeated so often that it now sounds like an empty promise. How many times have we heard, "Justice will prevail," only for cases to drag on for years without closure? Still, the public outcry is impossible to ignore. Social media has been flooded with messages of outrage, solidarity, and sorrow. Hashtags like #Justice for Tshiamo and Baleseng have begun circulating, with users calling for the government to prioritize women's safety as a matter of national urgency. The women's families, while devastated, have thanked the community for standing by them. They say what they want most is accountability, swift, clear, and fair. Now, while this story is painful, it also reveals something powerful about South Africans' resilience. When tragedy strikes, people gather, not in silence, but in unity. And that unity might be the strongest weapon communities have in the fight against gender-based violence. However, let's also be real, Mamelodi is not new to tragedy. Over the years, the township has faced waves of violence, from political clashes to taxi wars. And yet, it remains a place of strength, where people refuse to be defined by fear. The Moramaga case has once again reminded everyone that gender-based violence is not a private issue, it's a public crisis that demands a collective response. It's not enough to mourn the victims, we have to confront the culture that allows this kind of brutality to continue. The accused man's first court appearance was brief, but symbolic. Dressed in a plain shirt, he stood quietly as the charges were read out. The courtroom was packed, and the air was heavy with emotion. Outside, a group of women sang softly, songs of sorrow, but also of resistance. One elder woman was overheard saying, "If our daughters are not safe, none of us are safe." Those words hit hard. Because they speak to the truth of a nation where women and girls often live in fear, where walking home at night feels like taking a gamble with fate. And while Mamelodi might be the focus today, tomorrow it could be any township, any suburb, any family. What's deeply ironic and tragic is that in 2025, South Africa continues to boast progressive gender laws and policies on paper, but on the ground, violence persists. Police resources are stretched, cases are backlogged, and victims' families are left navigating a justice system that moves at a snail's pace. And when suspects finally appear in court, communities fear they might walk free on technicalities. That fear is why people stood outside the courthouse in the blazing sun, because for them, this isn't just a legal matter. It's personal. There's also an uncomfortable reality here. Gender-based violence is not just about individuals committing crimes, it's about a system that fails to protect. And every failure sends a message to would-be offenders that they can get away with it. That's why moments like these, tragic as they are, must become turning points. Mamelodi is saying no more. South Africa must start listening. So as we wait for the next court date, one question remains: will this case become another forgotten statistic, or will it mark a new chapter in how justice is pursued for women in this country? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Tshiamo and Baleseng's names will not be forgotten. Their story has already sparked a conversation far bigger than Mamelodi, and that's how change begins. If you've made it this far, take a moment to think about what justice really means in a country where violence has become ordinary. Shouldn't we expect more? Shouldn't safety be a right, not a privilege? If you agree that this fight against gender-based violence needs to stay in the national spotlight, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more in-depth South African political and social commentary, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think enough is being done to protect women in South Africa, or has the justice system lost its way? Because one thing is clear, until justice is consistent, communities will continue to take their fight from the streets to the courtroom, and beyond. See you next time.